You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Good evening, Radio 1 listeners. You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show, Spirit 1340 WYCB, the oldest gospel radio station in D.C., and we are the first contemporary outlet in the United States. Today is Friday. I'm excited to have some exciting guests on today. We have two guests that you've heard, but one is our own Dr. Julianne Malvo. She's with us every week. She's going to talk to us about politics. And in part two, we will be talking to attorney Shalora Williams. She's going to be talking about wills and probates, especially since we had all that COVID going on and she had more people calling than enough. And she wanted to come on and tell you all some things you ought to get taken care of. But now let's go to Dr. Julianne, who is a dean, former dean, Los Angeles, and she's also been president emeritus, still is president emeritus of Bennett College, has her PhD in economics, president of Push Excel, and she travels all over the place, and people enjoy hearing her speak. Let's talk to her tonight about what's going on in politics, which seems to be an awful lot this week. Dr. J, what's going on?
Well, it's really busy, as you said, a lot going on. The 45th president is the usual with him, but the appeals court has said, no, he does not get immunity. Three judges,
they did.
2 Democrats and 1 Republican said, no. You don't get to commit any crime that you want to. He has the right to appeal, but they informed him that he has until Monday, February 12th, to appeal. And if he can't do it by then, that's just that. So he wants to go to the Supreme Court, but he has to give notice. And there's also a question, of course, of whether or not he'll be on the Colorado ballot. And that's still pending. There's a 91-year-old woman who's actually challenged him. It's really kind of funny. She says he doesn't belong on the ballot because he's an insurrectionist. So he continues to think about that man as he knows how to basically suck all the air out of a room. So everything else that's going on is behind Mr. 45. Now, and it's interesting because Americans have said that immigration is their number one priority. They have said that they're concerned about the immigration crisis, and they want us to fix it. The Senate has worked on a piece of legislation led by a Republican they thought would win. But when the orange man said, oh, no, he didn't want it because it was a boost to Biden, they basically have said it's dead on arrival. Little Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said they may not even vote on it. So there you have it. But in other better immigration news, of course, the Congress was attempting to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. Well, they failed. On Tuesday evening, they did not get enough votes to impeach him. So that's just that. Now, Steve Scalise, formerly in Republican leadership, has had surgery. When he comes back, they'll vote again. And I'm sure there'll be some arm twisting. And Mayorkas may yet be impeached. But it still would have to go through the Senate, and the Senate is not going to do it. Democrats have a majority in the Senate. Not only do Democrats have a majority in the Senate, but many people have said there is no reason to impeach this man. They're upset about the way that he has dealt with the immigration crisis. And guess what? We've been dealing with this. The last time we passed good, and it wasn't that good, but decent immigration legislation was 1986. So we're talking decades before we've been able to tackle this. There have been many groups who've tried. They have not succeeded. But to attempt to impeach this man really is just, saber-rattling, posturing, yielding to 45 in terms of his electoral nonsense. So, Lyndia, this is not going away. First of all, the Republicans have a very narrow margin, I think about 3 people. So they lost, or maybe it's 5. They lost 3 in the vote today, but when Scalise comes back, they will try again. And they may have enough votes to impeach Mayorkas. This is a slap in the face to President Biden, but even many Republicans say There's no reason for this. He's doing public policy. If they are mad with somebody, they might try to impeach President Biden, but they have no reason to do that. Now, speaking of impeaching President Biden, certainly they're getting closer to having an impeachment vote on President Biden. I don't think they'll get it. But again, while we have immigration, while we have so many other issues, we have the Middle East. Why are you trying to impeach people? Why? Because they can. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the Middle East, of course, Anthony Blinken was over there trying to work through Hamas and trying to get the hostages released. He's come back a little bit frustrated, saying not going as well as we like. But it does seem to me that there's been positive movement, and so that positive movement makes sense. Still, there are more than 100 people who are being held hostage in various locations. And, you know, basically Hamas has offered a deal, but the deal has not been approved. Basically, Hamas is suggesting 6 weeks of no hostilities and a planned timed release of hostages. But that's well and good. Can they sustain it? Now, good news from last week. On February 2nd, the first Friday, unemployment rate report was released. Overall unemployment rate is 3.7%, the same as it was last month. Unemployment is not rising, although layoffs in the tech industries are going up. However, 3.7%, 5.2% for African-American people, that's a raw rate. We could do adjustments and talk about it being more. But that raw rate is something, frankly, to celebrate, except for a lot of people are not celebrating. Wages have gone up just a little bit, not a lot, and they have not absorbed the rate of inflation. However, let's just make a note. The unemployment rate is down 3.7% overall, 7% for African-American people, not 7, 5.2% for African-American people, 7 for adjusted overall. So we're looking at economic good news. Janet Yellen was with the Joint Economic Committee on Tuesday talking about the good news. People are still concerned about inflation. It's over 3.5%, but that's a lot lower than the 9% that we experienced in June of 2022. So economic good news, but people are not feeling it. Okay. That's it for me today, Lyndia.
It looks like it just looks good on paper, huh?
Well, if you have money, you're doing okay. If you're at the bottom, you're not. That's the usual.
All right. Thank you, Dr. J. We're going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we will talk to Attorney Shalor Williams. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Thank you for tuning in.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, you know we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Who Moved My Cheese is a book about two types of people, those who accept change quickly and move on, and those who hem and haw and try to figure things out. They didn't see change coming and waste valuable time trying to figure out what happened. How did this happen to me? Let's call this group procrastinators. The lesson inside the cheese story is simple. Life is change. Brother said it best when he said, if I accept you as you are, I will make you worse. However, if I treat you as though you are what you're capable of becoming, I help you become that. We must change and keep moving. The Bible tells us to seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open unto you, ask and it shall be given.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. We're back after our commercial break here on WYCB Spirit 1340 WYCB. We're about to talk to Attorney Shalor and Carrie Williams. I know you're probably wondering why I'm saying all of that for her. Usually I just say Attorney Shalor Williams at the law office of Alton Lewis and Shalor Williams. Shalor, talk to us today and tell us what is going on with your new law firm.
Well, first I want to thank you for having me today, and I am very happy to always be on your show. My new law firm is a blessing and somewhat of I'm just a little downer. My wonderful law partner, W. Alton Lewis, passed away on January 16th of this year. And because of that, before he passed, he was going to retire, but he helped me just set up to be ready whenever he retired. But unfortunately, he passed. But I want to tell you something, Lyndia. I come on your show and I tell people how to prepare for their death and prepare a will. If I seen anything that worked perfectly, it's what I've seen through the death of my law partner, W. Alton Lewis. My condolences continue to go out to his family, his wonderful family, his son Nicholas and his wife Vanetta. They're just wonderful people. But let me tell you, if I would say, do you need a will? Yes, you need a will. And if you want to know what a will is, it is that instrument, that written instrument, that directs the disposition of your personal property, whether it's real estate, whether it's in bank. And there has been no problem talking to the Maryland courts about his will. And I've learned a big lesson. And I miss my partner so, but I've learned a lot through him in life, and I'm learning much more from his death.
Oh, amen, Shalor. I'm telling you, so now instead of only doing wills and probates, tell us how your law firm has expanded.
Well, I also do family law, and family law takes care of, I hate to say this, divorces, separation, but it also takes care of name changes, guardianship. Guardianship is where you don't have a power of attorney because the person can no longer sign to give you that right because that person might be suffering from dementia. And it's called a guardianship, or guardianship over the person, guardianship over the person's property. So I also write out those guardianships. Now, the family law also includes the custody and child support, name change. So it's a span of things. I also review and will write deeds for I write Maryland deeds. If you need a deed written, I can do that as well. So I've expanded some. I also offer my potential clients, if there's something that bothers you legally, you call me. If I cannot take care of it, I will help you find a competent attorney. And so, I offer those services as well. But I am happy.
I wanted to ask you if you have usually you always have some gifts. So because Mother's Day is coming up, and I thought we could offer birthdays of your parents. But anyway, Mother's Day in particular, maybe we could have a special holiday for gift ideas for discounts for Mother's Day.
Well, you know, Lyndia, a Mother's Day gift is mentioning your name. And if they mention your name, they've got a Mother's Day gift. In fact, if a son wants to give his mother a Mother's Day gift, he has to mention your name on your radio show. And I've kept that up, and I have will continue to do so. I value your listeners because you give your listeners valuable information. You know, the other day I was asked if I write a will in Maryland and I move to San Diego, will that will be the same? The will be the same unless you want to change the will. Then you have to change the will. If you change your residence in San Diego, you have to change the will under the laws of San Diego. But otherwise, it would work if you didn't change the will. So you know, yeah. That's an important question. A lot of people move in and out of these states, especially now. Young people don't want to stay in Washington, D.C., don't want to stay in Maryland. They want to go to New York. My son went to San Diego. And if you write a will now while you're here and you go to San Diego or Florida or any other state, the will is still good until it's time to change the will, whenever you want to change your will. Then you have to go by the laws of that state that you are currently living. And it says the other question I normally have, even under my new Shalor and Carey law office, the law office of Shalor and Carey LLC, even I get questions like, well, what about why do I need a will? Well, everyone needs a will, and I say that not to make money, because everyone needs a will. You need a will to protect your assets after you are gone, so that your assets will go where you want it to go. And I think that's very important, don't you?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. And so that's why I want people to understand that they can give you a call, and you've even offered to give them advice, even if it's something they need that you cannot do, then you can help them find a good attorney.
That's so important, because one, people are scared. People can be scared of attorneys. One, it costs so much. Two, they don't trust attorneys. But there are a lot of attorneys. There are attorneys you can trust, and you should trust, because a barbershopper or a mechanic or person or a hairdresser or beautician, they don't know the law. They know their field. When they don't know medicine, they go to a doctor. So if you don't know the law, you should go to a lawyer. And there are good lawyers out here. And sometimes people don't want to pay the consultation fee for lawyers. Well, if they mention your name, they don't have to pay a consultation fee to me. But they may have to pay a consultation fee to other attorneys. Sometimes it's worth just paying that consultation fee to get some good legal advice.
Mm-hmm.
But
I want you to tell, because we're running out of time, but I want you to tell them how to find you, your address, your phone number, your website, anything you want to tell them, how they can contact you up there in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
All right. The first thing I want to tell you, you can always email me. You can email me at sacw@verizon.net. That stands for Shalor and Carey Williams, SACW@verizon.net. You can call me on 301-341-5577. You can call me on 301-341-5577. Now, my location is 1450 Mercantile Lane, Suite 155, Largo, Maryland, 20774. Now, I'm available every day of the week except for the weekends, but the phone number that I just gave you, 301-345577, you can leave a message. But I will be available, and all you have to do is mention Lyndia Grant Show, Lyndia Grant. I've known her for a long time. She works hard for the people of this community.
Amen. Thank you, Shalor. All right. Well, I'm telling you, give them any closing comments, and then we're going to get ready to close our show. We don't have but 2 or 3 more minutes left.
Okay. All right. My closing comments are, please call me or an attorney to establish yourself with estate documents, last will and testament, power of attorneys for health, power of attorneys for finances. We all are not going to be here every day. The pandemic has taught us that. And I cannot tell you how many people have left here without a will or those documents in place. And I will be available to you any and all ways if you call me or contact me through Lyndia. I do family law, wills and estates, probate. I review contracts and I write deeds. And I'll be there for you.
All right. Well, we thank you, Shalor and Carrie Williams, for. I didn't realize how long your name is, and when I send you an email to SACW, I wonder what is all that. But it's easy to understand when I know your name is Shalor and Carrie Williams, and we'll talk about that name on another show because we're running out of time today. But thank you for being our guest today, Shalor Williams.
Well, invite me again, Lyndia, please.
All right. Thank you so much, and we'll be moving on now. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. I would like for you to go to YouTube and listen to my show. We have a recording every week on YouTube. And then pick up the Washington Informer newspaper. Read the Religion Corner. This week we're talking about how the coronavirus has impacted Black communities, and it's research done by the Poor People's Campaign. Join us at the All Nations Baptist Church for our Sunday worship service. It's located at North Capitol and Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast Washington, D.C. It is a COVID-safe environment. Our worship services begin at 11 a.m., and our pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Next week, our guest will be Sister Dr. Jenna, my dear friend. She is promoting her new book. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. But in memory of my mother, I ask that you do 3 things if you're type 2 diabetic. 1, make a lifestyle change by changing your diet forever. 2, eat less carbohydrates and cut the sugars back. And 3, exercise daily. Philippians 4:6 says, think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.